As a light about to blow out, it flickers. Flicker, flicker, flicker until it finally crashes. So it is with America. Mr. Trump, go, don't go, go don't go, go don't go. He was all cocked and ready but choked, releasing the trigger. Obliterate, no. Talk, obliterate, no. Talk. North Korea, Venezuela, China, Iran. Mr. Trump is rightfully hesitant. His instincts are correct, but the pressures are overwhelming. He will pull the trigger. Mr. Netanyahu, the evangelicals, and Saudi Arabia will see to that, very soon. War is but days away. The dragon, House of Saud, allied with Dajjal, Netanyahu, driving Gog, US, and Magog, UK, the dragon's angels, to a humiliating defeat against Iran, the Shia, Fard's angels.
The Middle East is about to explode. The tinderbox, the spark that will ignite the time of unprecedented trouble. World War III, the War of Armageddon. Who will strike first? Mr. Donald Trump, President of the United States. This is the time of restoration, the restoration of all things, the end of your reign of terror, the time for America to face 400 years of dammed up consequence. There is no, quote, making America great again, end quote. It was never great. It's your time of consequence. Advice: repent, pack up, and immediately lead a European ancestry exodus back to Europe, taking nothing with you but your clothing. The window for this brief mercy is quickly closing. Willingly or unwillingly, you will return from whence you came, either in chains or not. That's your choice, only choice. Time is of the essence. Jonah, in the name of Allah, Lord of the worlds. P.S. Leave Iran alone.
Michael and his angels fought. And the dragon and his angels fought. The liars. The liars are in full form. We don't want war, we are not provoking Iran, Iran is raising the tensions. Iran is the aggressor, we want peace, etc. 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 Then leave Iran alone. America is the greatest terrorist nation that ever existed. It the biggest bully that ever existed. It bullied, raped, tortured, murdered black, babies, children, girls, boys for over 400 years, innocents, who had never done them any harm, dragging from their homes and land to the land of cowards, freaks, and oppressors, all the while saying, the land of the brave, home of the free. Brave. 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 Yeah. Bravely shoving their pale colorless pissers down the throats of defenseless black boys and girls. They claim innocence, while honoring the likes of Washington, Jefferson, shit-eating monsters who took pleasure in raping black boys and girls. Turning their own black-face Caucasians' children, demons, out to suffer in the fields of affliction. Monsters, shit-eating monsters. Shit-eating monsters. They claim innocence. We can't be blamed for what our fathers, ancestors did. Which in itself is a condemnation of the monsters that bred them. Yet, they honor those monsters, Washington, Jefferson etc., with the highest honors they can confer. Their own law condemns them. Anyone who knowingly receives ill-gotten property of any kind from the perpetrators, the obtainers of that property is as guilty as the perpetrators. So, if you go forth killing, murdering, stealing, etc., anyone who knowingly accepts any portion of the fruits of your crimes are as guilty as you are. Their descendants, relatives, all Europeans, and everyone else who came voluntarily to America is enjoying the fruits of the crimes of those who murdered, tortured, stole, lied, raped, committed genocide, etc. to get America. If they are so innocent, give America back to its original owners. Make the blacks whole. They never will, because they are just as much bloodthirsty, murdering shit-eating monsters as their predecessors. Innocent hell.
Farad and his angels, the Shia, are about to square off with the dragon, the house of Saud, and its angels, Gog, Magog, and Dajjal, false Israel. A dramatic, climatic battle for control of the land of promise, a war in the Middle East. Gog/US and Gog/UK will be dragged in by Mr. Netanyahu. Mr. Netanyahu/false Israel knows they must strike now or never. Mr. Netanyahu has never seen the stars align so favorably. He doesn't expect that it will last past Mr. Trump's reign. Strike now or never. The dragon, House of Saud, is in agreement with Mr. Netanyahu, and seeing all the constellations lined up in their favor, want to strike now. To that end, Mr. Netanyahu has convinced Mr. Trump to build up America's strike force in the region in preparations to take down Iran. They have a shock waiting for them, one from which they will never recover. The Iranians are prepared and motivated, even more than in the war with Saddam Hussein, an epic battle.
Mr. Trump is trying to save America, trying to revive America, trying to heal America, trying to make America great again. But, he can't. He thinks his devotion to false Israel is the bomb required, but he has been deceived, is being deceived. The correct bomb is repentance to, and the restoration of the true seed of Abraham, the true Israel, the original nation, who America have been oppressing for over 400 years. But he can't and won't dare to go there, for it will require the acknowledgement of the true seed of Abraham. He would be dead before he finished the sentence. 8. Babylon is suddenly fallen and destroyed, howl for her, take balm for her pain, if so be she may be healed. 9. We would have healed Babylon, but she is not healed, forsake her, and let us go every one into his own country, for her judgment reacheth unto heaven, and is lifted up even to the skies. War broke out in heaven, Michael and his angels fought against the dragon and its angels. Pressure. The war has started. It's in the shoving phase, soon to go hot. America is straining under the pressure of the nations. America claims it is applying pressure, but in reality, America is reacting to pressure. The nations are asserting themselves. Nations who have been kicked around, oppressed, bullied by America for hundreds of years. Nations who have long deep memories, seeking to repay the humiliation, the rape, the thefts, genocide imposed upon them by America. The nations are getting off their knees and are standing on their feet. Mr. Trump is trying desperately to frame the situation as America pressuring the nations into submission to America's will, when in reality, the situation is the reverse. The nations are imposing their will on America, and America is reacting. Please. The nations are not deterred, not curled by Mr. Trump's threats, his saber rattling. The nations are unrelenting, tenacious, ever pressing, ever pushing. Hot war is inevitable, imminent. Please stop pressuring us. Please. China, stop pressuring us economically. Please. North Korea, please stop pressuring us geostrategically. Please. Russia, please stop pressuring us militarily. Please. Iran, please stop pressuring us geopolitically, threatening our energy dominance. Please. Please, original nation, stop pressuring us religiously, ideologically, claiming to be the true seed of Abraham. Etc. etc. America is reeling and stumbling around, from the increasing pressures, like someone intoxicated, drunk. I can't breathe. America has deceived itself into thinking she can blow away the increasing back-breaking pressures. America claims it's not looking for war, which it is. America is provoking war. America desires to alleviate the increased pressures by forcing the pressuring nations into submission with threats, intimidation, provocations. But the nations are not relenting. The nations are not intimidated. It's easy to discern who is pressuring, and who is being pressured. The pressured is the one who is heating up. The one who is complaining. The one who is threatening. The one who is violent. Pressure increased temperature, causes the pressure to heat up. Until it burst into flames, igniting everything around it. War, war, war. America is about to burst into flames, igniting the Middle East, where flaming America will be fanned into a blaze. The emblazed America will become an inferno in Europe. America and Britain, infernos, will be reduced to ashes by the flood of a 200 million man army from China and India. Farid vs. Dragon. 7 And occurred war in the heaven, the Michael and the angels of him of the to war with the dragon, and the dragon warred and the angels of it. 8 And not it proved strong, not but place was found of them yet in the heaven. 9 And was thrown the dragon the great, the serpent the archaic, the being called devil and the Satan, the making to err the being inhabited whole, he was thrown into the earth, and the angels of him with him were thrown. 10 And I heard voice great in the heaven saying, right now became the salvation and the power and the kingdom of the God of us and the authority of the Christ of him, because was thrown the accuser of the brothers of us, the accusing them in sight of the God of us of day and of night. 11 And they conquered him through the blood of the Lamb and through the word of the witness of them, and not they loved the soul of them until death. 12 Through this be you making yourselves well-minded, heavens, and the in them tenting, woe the earth and the sea, because stepped down the devil toward you, having anger great, having known that little appointed time he is having. Pearl Harbor. War in the Middle East, heaven, has broken out. Sanctions are acts of war. It was sanctions in the form of an embargo that provoked Japan to retaliate against America, who was imposing and enforcing the embargo, triggering war between America and Japan. America has attacked Iran. Sanctions/embargoes are acts of war. America is provoking Iran. America's lies, double talk, cannot change the fact that America is the aggressor. America, Gog, Britain, Magog, and Dajjal, false Israel, are being urged by the dragon, Saudi Arabia, to war with Iran. Michael, Farid, is the Shia's 12th Imam, the guardian and protector of Iran. Farid is about to step up in defense of the Shia, Iran and Syria. The dragon, Saudi Arabia, and its angels, US, UK, false Israel, are about to collide with Farid and the Shia. Farid vs. Dragon. This war will turn hot within days. America has armed her jet fighters with hypersonic nuclear-tipped missiles, thinking they can take down Farid crafts, called UFOs. America is well aware of the nature and origin of the so-called UFOs. America's aggression will be met with a whirlwind force, which will surprise, confound, and overwhelm America, Britain, and Saudi Arabia. America and Britain will be forced out of the Middle East, its Armada in flames. Saudi Arabia will suddenly fall, leaving all the holy sites under Shia control. This will enrage the Sunni, which will ignite terrorism on a scale unprecedented. Wild beast / false prophet. 19 And I saw the wild beast and the kings of the earth and the armies of them having been led together to make the war with the sitting upon the horse and with the army of him. 20 And was caught the wild beast and with it the false prophet, the having done the signs inside of it, in which he made to err, the having received the engraving of the wild beast and the worshipping to the image of it, living were thrown the two into the lake of the fire of the burning in sulfur. 21 And the leftover were killed off in the long sword of the sitting upon the horse, to the having gone forth out of the mouth of him, and all the birds were satisfied out of the fleshes of them. The snare. Mr. Trump, the wild beast, and Mr. Netanyahu, the false prophet, are leading Europe, the so-called EU, and Britain into war with Michael, Farad, and his angels, Iran Shia. Farad, sitting on the white horse, and his army the Shia. America and false Israel are pushing hard against Iran. Mr. Trump is trying to provoke Iran into a violent reaction, so he can claim self-defense. But they have a great imminent surprise awaiting them. Mr. Netanyahu is string-walking his puppet, Mr. Trump, into a snare. There will be war within days, in which both will be captured, trapped, and broken, within days. The shock of the hour. 34 And take heed to yourselves, lest at any time your hearts be overcharged with surfeiting, and drunkenness, and cares of this life, and so that day come upon you suddenly. 35 For as a snare shall it come on all them that dwell on the face of the whole earth. 36 Watch ye therefore, and pray always, that ye may be accounted worthy to escape all these things that shall come to pass, and to stand before the Son of Man. Abomination of desolation. 15 Therefore when you see the abomination of desolation which was spoken of through Daniel the prophet, standing in the holy place, let the reader understand. 16 Then those who are in Judea must flee to the mountains. 17 Whoever is on the housetop must not go down to get the things out that are in his house. 18 Whoever is in the field must not turn back to get his cloak. 19 But woe to those who are pregnant and to those who are nursing babies in those days. 20 But pray that your flight will not be in the winter, or on a Sabbath. 21 For then there will be a great tribulation, such as has not occurred since the beginning of the world until now, nor ever will. 22 Unless those days had been cut short, no life would have been saved, but for the sake of the elect those days will be cut short. Abomination of desolation. Arabia firmly under control of the Shia, who are under the protection of Michael, Farad, and America. Britain driven completely out of the Middle East. The Shia, led by Iran, turn their attention, their force against Dajjal, false Israel, laying siege to it. False Israel isolated, abandoned by America, and threatened by instant and total annihilation by Russia if it attempts to use its nuclear arsenal, will shortly fall, though not before the act called the abomination of desolation. Its citizens left to the revenge of the Palestinians, who they have been mercilessly oppressing for over 70 years. False Israel vanquished, the Shia are in complete and firm control of the entire Middle East, heaven, and its vast oil resources. Abomination of desolation. Jerusalem surrounded by armies is a reference to an Injil scenario, not a physical surrounding of Jerusalem. It's when the Shia/Iran defeats Gog, Magog, and Dajjal. Followed immediately by Babylon/America's fall. Gog Magog. 3 And when he opened up the seal the second, I heard of the second living saying, Be you coming? 4 And went out another horse fiery red, and to the sitting upon it was given to him to take the peace out of the earth, and in order that one another they will slaughter, and was given to him sword great. Gog Magog. Immediately upon America's violent expulsion from the Middle East, war with Russia in Europe will ignite. America blaming Russia's help of Iran for her defeat by Iran, while suppressing the UFOs that it confronted. NATO, the supposed ally of America, will join with Russia, blaming America for igniting the war in the Middle East, jeopardizing their economies. Iran, in complete control of the Middle East and its vast oil wealth, will have a stranglehold on Europe's economy, who will be at Iran's mercy for its energy needs. The war in Europe will be fierce. America will use the occasion to implement its plan of genocide under the color of war, the drafting of blacks, male/female, and forcing them into the fight in Europe. The implementation of the plan will cause rebellion, and insurrection of blacks. Many blacks will meet their fate fighting for their country in Europe, which will be a slaughterhouse, especially for blacks. Gog Magog. 18:98 He said, This is a mercy from my Lord, but when the promise of my Lord comes to pass he will crumble it, and the promise of my Lord is ever true. 18:99 And on that day we shall let some of them surge against others, and the trumpet will be blown, then we shall gather them all together. 18:100 And we shall bring forth hell, exposed to view, on that day before the disbelievers. 18:101 Whose eyes were under a cover from my reminder, and they could not bear to heed. Farad versus Dragon. The war in Europe will exhaust America's and Britain's military resources. It will be America, Gog, Britain, Magog, versus Russia and the rest of Europe, with very few exceptions. NATO will be allied against America. The war will also, by virtue of the draft, alienate the blacks, especially the Christian blacks, resulting in crippling social unrest in the ranks of the military, and within the civilian borders of America. America in a death match in Europe, along with its ally Britain, Gog and Magog, two heads of the dragon with crowns on its 7 heads, will be forced to concede world dominance to China and India, the beast with crowns on its 10 horns. A transfer of power and authority from the dragon to the beast. Wall Street. 10 From long off having stood through the fear of the torment of her, saying, Woe, woe, the city the great, Babylon the city the strong, because to 1 hour came the judgment of you. 11 And the traveling merchants of the earth are weeping, and they are mourning upon her, because the full of them no one is buying not yet. 12 Full of gold and of silver and of stone precious and of pearls and of fine linen and of purple and of silk and of scarlet, and every wood thine, and every vessel made of ivory, and every vessel out of wood most precious, and of copper and of iron and of marble. 13 And cinnamon and amomum and incenses and perfumed oil and frankincense and wine and olive oil. And fine flour and wheat and acquired and sheep, and of horses and of coaches and of bodies, and souls of men. 14 And the juicy fruit of you, of the desire of the soul, it went off from you, and all the fatty and the bright destroyed itself from you, and not yet not them they will find. 15 The traveling merchants of these, the having become rich from her, from long off will stand through the fear of the torment of her weeping and mourning. 16 Saying, Woe, woe, the city the great, the having been thrown about fine linen and purple and scarlet, and having been gilded in gold and stone precious and pearl. 17 Because to 1 hour was desolate the so much wealth. And every steersman and every the upon place sailing, and nautical ones, and as many as the sea are working, from long off they stood. 18 And they cried out, looking at the smoke of the firing of her, saying, Who like to the city the great? 19 And they threw dust upon the heads of them, and they cried out, weeping and mourning, saying, Woe, woe, the city the great, in which became rich all the having the boats in the sea out of the preciousness of her, because in 1 hour she was desolate. 20 Be you well minded upon her, heaven, and the holy and the apostles and the prophets, because judged the God the judgment of you out of her. Famine. The war in Europe, combined with Europe's energy requirements at the mercy of an offended, disrespected Iran, will break Europe's economy, destroying it. 16 Saying woe woe, the city the great, the having been thrown about fine linen and purple and scarlet, and having been gilded in gold and stone precious and pearl. 17 Because to 1 hour was desolate the so much wealth. The desolation of Europe's economy will drag America's economy down with it. China, and India, along with all the other Oriental and Asian countries are now open adversaries of America and Britain, will no longer be trading with them, Gog and Magog. Dog food. The failure of America's economy will cripple the world's economy. That coupled with global war will initiate a time of unprecedented trouble, universal unrest. Famine, plagues, genocide, insurrection. People perishing from exposure, resulting from infrastructure failure because of widespread and pervasive energy shortages. First, the eating of pets, then the eating of children. Before children they will dine on black Christians, and demons, the fruits of 400 years of unrelenting, unrestrained rape. Demons, they're black-faced Caucasians.
Son of perdition. 1 Now we beseech you, brethren, by the coming of our Lord Jesus Christ, and by our gathering together unto him, to that ye be not soon shaken in mind, or be troubled, neither by spirit, nor by word, nor by letter as from us, as that the day of Christ is at hand. 3 Let no man deceive you by any means, for that day shall not come, except there come a falling away first, and that man of sin be revealed, the son of perdition. 4 Who opposeth and exalteth himself above all that is called God, or that is worshipped, so that he as God sitteth in the temple of God, showing himself that he is God. 5 Remember ye not, that, when I was yet with you, I told you these things. 6 And now ye know what withholdeth that he might be revealed in his time. 7 For the mystery of iniquity doth already work, only he who now letteth will let, until he be taken out of the way. 8 And then shall that wicked be revealed, whom the Lord shall consume with the spirit of his mouth, and shall destroy with the brightness of his coming. 9 Even him, whose coming is after the working of Satan with all power and signs and lying wonders. 10 And with all deceivableness of unrighteousness in them that perish, because they received not the love of the truth, that they might be saved. 11 And for this cause God shall send them strong delusion, that they should believe a lie. 12 That they all might be damned who believed not the truth, but had pleasure in unrighteousness.
Fuller's soap. 1 Behold, I will send my messenger, and he shall prepare the way before me, and the Lord, whom ye seek, shall suddenly come to his temple, even the messenger of the covenant, whom ye delight in. Behold, he shall come, saith the Lord of hosts. 2 But who may abide the day of his coming? And who shall stand when he appeareth? For he is like a refiner's fire, and like fuller's soap. 3 And he shall sit as a refiner and purifier of silver, and he shall purify the sons of Levi, and purge them as gold and silver, that they may offer unto the Lord an offering in righteousness. 4 Then shall the offering of Judah and Jerusalem be pleasant unto the Lord, as in the days of old, and as in former years. 5 And I will come near to you to judgment, and I will be a swift witness against the sorcerers, and against the adulterers, and against false swearers, and against those that oppress the hireling in his wages, the widow and the fatherless, and that turn aside the stranger from his right, and fear not me, saith the Lord of hosts. The Injil. 14 This gospel of the kingdom shall be preached in the whole world as a testimony to all the nations, and then the end will come. It will be a time of intense darkness, total triple darkness. Time of unprecedented trouble. The light will be the Son of Man, the Injil, the only light. The son of perdition, Farrakhan will be exposed, the Jews will out him as their puppet. The Son of Man will take control of the nation of Islam, equipped with fuller's soap, cleaning out the demons, the chaff/tears/weeds. The time of the Injil called the Gospel, called Revelations. The unveiling, the breakthrough of the Injil/Gospels, to be a witness to the entire world as to their action involving the original nation, seed of Abraham, during their time of trouble. Har-Meged-Don. 12 And the sixth poured out the bowl of him upon the river the great the Euphrates, and was dried up the water of it, in order that might be prepared the way of the kings the from rising of Sunday 13 And I saw out of the mouth of the dragon and out of the mouth of the wild beast and out of the mouth of the false prophet spirits 3 unclean as frogs, 14 They are for spirits of demons doing signs, which is going out upon the kings of the being inhabited whole, to lead together them into the war of the day the great of the God the Almighty. 15 Look, I am coming as thief. Happy the staying awake and keeping the outer garments of him, in order that not naked may be walking about and they may be looking at the shamefulness of him. 16 And it led together them into the place the being called in Hebrew Har-Meged-Don. Sanctuary. The world in flames. Demons, black-face Caucasians, in America will be under attack. America and Britain will be throwing blacks into the fires, into their wars to be destroyed, genocide under the color of war. The only safe place will be the nation of Islam, under the protection of Farad, and under control of the Son of Man the son of perdition having been exposed, and dispatched. America will come against the nation of Islam, using her demons, the Christian blacks. A time of intense darkness, confusion. Genghis Khan. The time of unprecedented trouble. The surface of the planet is enflamed, shaken, more than at any time its history. Mankind, the Caucasians, Jacob's devils, have ignited starburst on the planet's surface, supernovas. Intense fire, intense heat, lightning and thunder, flesh-obliterating lightning, brain-crushing thunder, reach deep and far, no escape. The mind-crushing thunder, the eye-blinding lightning will rock the great Khan, and his Mughal allies. They will rush forth like a whirlwind, trampling down everything in their path leaving ashes in their wake. Genghis Khan. The Oriental nations with China at their head, and Asian nations with India at their head, Daniel's leopard, yellow with brown spots, the goat that crushes the ram having 2 horns, will rush forth with such kinetic force, that the ram having 2 horns, America/Britain, Gog/Magog, will buckle in great fear, knocked to their knees, and on their knees, in crippling fear, crushed to dust. Stamped back into earth from whence they came. Four winds. 7 So I prophesied as I was commanded, and as I prophesied, there was a noise, and behold, a rattling, and the bones came together, bone to its bone. 8 And I looked, and behold, sinews were on them, and flesh grew and skin covered them, but there was no breath in them. 9 Then he said to me, Prophesy to the breath, prophesy, Son of man, and say to the breath, Thus says the Lord God, Come from the 4 winds, O breath, and breathe on these slain, that they come to life. 10 So I prophesied as he commanded me, and the breath came into them, and they came to life and stood on their feet, an exceedingly great army. Awake. This will be the time of unprecedented trouble, the blowing of the 4 winds, which will rock the planet, such that it will wake every black on the planet, original and demons. The blowing of the 4 winds will awaken all blacks. They will turn from opposing the Son of Man to responding, seeking refuge in the nation of Islam. This is the resurrection. All blacks uniting. A unity based on fear, not love. The demons feigning love for Islam with their mouths, while concealing hatred in their hearts. They seek the sanctuary of the Son of Man by means of blandishment. Their efforts of deceptions will be frustrated. 2 of the 4 winds will rock America, Britain, false Israel, Gog, Magog, Dajjal. These 2 winds will be a wholly unsuspected, unexpected, surprise from a corner they never considered. A betrayal of epic proportions. Blacks seeing America's power crumbling before their eyes will flee to the sanctuary of the Nation of Islam in droves. A huge army from which the Son of Man will pluck the best of the fruit, purging the rest. Separate the chaff from the wheat. Demon/devil seed. 24 Another parable put he forth unto them, saying, The kingdom of heaven is likened unto a man which sowed good seed in his field. 25 But while men slept, his enemy came and sowed tares among the wheat, and went his way. 26 But when the blade was sprung up, and brought forth fruit, then appeared the tares also. 27 So the servants of the householder came and said unto him, Sir, didst not thou sow good seed in thy field? From whence then hath it tares? 28 He said unto them, An enemy hath done this. The servants said unto him, Wilt thou then that we go and gather them up? 29 But he said, Nay, lest while ye gather up the tares, ye root up also the wheat with them. 30 Let both grow together until the harvest, and in the time of harvest I will say to the reapers, Gather ye together first the tares, and bind them in bundles to burn them, but gather the wheat into my barn. Judgment Day. The Son of Man will screen of the demons from the originals. The separation of the chaff from the wheat. The original nation is plagued by demons. The demons are black-faced Caucasians, the results of over 400 years of unrelenting, unrestrained rape of black women. Virtually half of all blacks are demons. Every eyes will see him. The eyes are symbolic of blacks in the Injil. All blacks will respond to the Son of Man following the blowing of the 4 winds. Some out of fear, some out of love. Yet, they will all respond. The Son of Man will separate out the demons and send them packing back to their swine devil daddies, who are heading full steam off a cliff, to their destruction. Once, the demons are purged, the original nation will quickly return to full health, a great and powerful army in the presence of their enemies, their centuries-old oppressors, tormentors. The army of the Son of Man who will exact a fierce, terrible but just justice upon those who had afflicted Abraham's seed for over 400 years. Then leaving them to their fate, the revenge of their numerous enemies. At that time will Michael/Farid arise, and all blacks will awaken. The army of the Son of Man will be delivered. The demons will be left behind to suffer the fate of their devil daddies. The return. 1 And at that time shall Michael stand up, the great prince which standeth for the children of thy people, and there shall be a time of trouble, such as never was since there was a nation even to that same time, and at that time thy people shall be delivered, every one that shall be found written in the book. 2 And many of them that sleep in the dust of the earth shall awake, some to everlasting life, and some to shame and everlasting contempt. 3 And they that be wise shall shine as the brightness of the firmament, and they that turn many to righteousness as the stars for ever and ever. The Divine Promise. 12 Now when the sun was going down, a deep sleep fell upon Abram, and behold, terror and great darkness fell upon him. 13 God said to Abram, Know for certain that your descendants will be strangers in a land that is not theirs, where they will be enslaved and oppressed 400 years. 14 But I will also judge the nation whom they will serve, and afterward they will come out with many possessions. 15 As for you, you shall go to your fathers in peace, you will be buried at a good old age. 16 Then in the 4th generation they will return here, for the iniquity of the Amorite is not yet complete. 17 It came about when the sun had set, that it was very dark, and behold, there appeared a smoking oven and a flaming torch which passed between these pieces. 18 On that day the Lord made a covenant with Abram, saying, to your descendants I have given this land, from the river of Egypt as far as the great river, the river Euphrates. The land of promise. Once the demons have been screened out, Farid will deliver the wheat back to the promised land, now under the control of the Shia, who will welcome them with open arms and joyous hearts. The Son of Man will establish his throne in America, in the presence of his enemies. He will raise his army, the righteous army, the true seed of Abraham. An army free of demons. The army will provide a sanctuary for the original nation here in America. A safe sanctuary in the midst of fire flames that are engulfing America. A sanctuary from America's plan of genocide under the color of war, drafting blacks, men, and women, forcing them to their destruction, fighting for their country in Europe and Asia. When Genghis Khan and his Mughal army reach the shore of America, Daniel's goat, the army of the Son of Man will be delivered by Farid, back to the land of promise. The promised land. Leaving America to its just fate. I make all things new. 1 And I saw heaven new and earth new, the first heaven and the first earth went off, and the sea not is yet. 2 And the city the holy Jerusalem new I saw stepping down out of the heaven from the God, having been prepared astride, having been adorned to the male person of her. 3 And I heard a voice great out of the throne saying, Look! The tent of the God with the men, and he will tent with them, and they peoples of him will be, and he the God with them will be. 4 And he will wipe out every tear out of the eyes of them, and the death not will be yet, neither mourning nor outcry nor pain riot it will be yet. The first went off. 5 And said the sitting upon the throne, Look! New I am making all. And he is saying right, because these the words faithful and true are. To your descendants I have given this land. From the river of Egypt as far as the great river, the river Euphrates. The former things have passed away. New heaven, original nation, Shia, African Muslims. New earth, Sunni Arab/nation of Islam, the Levites. The present world will pass away in flames. The flood is the 200 million man Oriental/Asian army, the army of Genghis Khan, and his Mughal allies. They will hit America and Britain like a tidal wave, drowning everything before it. The former things have passed away, and a new world is formed. A world of righteousness, harmony. 13 And the death and the Hades were thrown into the lake of the fire. Death, Oriental nations Buddhism, and Hades, the Asian nations, Hinduism, were thrown into the lake of fire. The fire is Christianity, where all three will be in the lake of destruction together, fuel for the fire of Christianity. All three will be in hell together, where the Caucasians will be their slaves, oppressed, and tormented by the Oriental and Asians forever until they are no more. As you have done, so shall it be done to you. The Caucasian will suffer what they afflicted us with for over 400 years. We suffered through hope and a promise. They will suffer under hopelessness, and curse.
The devil and his triangle of deception, death, and denial. The original nation is surrounded by enemies, surrounded on all three sides by a triangle of destruction. The Dajjal, demons, and the dragon. The Abrahamic promise is central to all scripture. The fulfillment of that promise, the promise of Allah to Abraham, is infallible. It is a reward to Abraham's seed for suffering the insufferable for 400 years. The fulfillment of the, quote, promise of return, end quote, is simultaneously accompanied by the destruction of those who impose the suffering. which are three: the demons who are evidence of the rape of the original nation, the Jews who commercialize the suffering of Abraham's seed, the original nation, the dragon who has taken and profited by the possession of the promised land, determined to prevent the, quote, promise of return, end quote, from being fulfilled. The question: ask yourself, why would anyone want to deny the Abrahamic promise of return, the most beautiful and powerful prophecy and promise in the scripture? We have already paid the blood price. The promise of return is the reward for 400 years of unendurable suffering. So why would anyone want to deny it? The dragon, Saudi Arabia, would, as they control the land of promise, Arabia. The Antichrist, false Israel, would, as they would be revealed as the fraud that they are. Gog and Magog, America and Britain respectively, would, as the fulfillment of the promise of return comes with the promise of their judgment and destruction. They all have profound reasons to obscure, deny, and prevent the vision, the prophecy, the promise from ever being fulfilled. So why is Farrakhan denying the promise of return? Why? Quote, we ain't going nowhere, end quote. One last category not mentioned: the demons. The demons do not want the promise fulfilled because they are the chaff/tares/weeds that will be separated from the wheat at the time of return and cast into the fire, run off a cliff along with their swine daddies. They don't want it fulfilled either. So who represents the demons? The black-faced Caucasians who look like us, talk like us, but ain't us. The seed of devils who raped black women for over 400 years. Is God a liar, incapable of fulfilling his promise? The devils, Gog and Magog, have set up their triangle of death around the original nation. They robbed us of our identity. They gave our age-old enemy, the polytheists, control of our land. They corrupted our nation with impostors, lookalikes, hidden enemies called demons. Dragons, Dajjal, and demons, the devil's triangle of death. The so-called Jews have robbed us of our identity, posing as the seed of Abraham. The story of Jacob and Esau highlights and reveals the theft. The Jews commercialized our suffering. They were the main financiers and primary beneficiaries of the slave trade. They continue to exploit blacks financially and economically. False Israel is the Antichrist. Arabia, which is North Africa, is the, quote, land of promise, end quote, where Abraham dwelled. Abraham built the Kaaba and Mecca. The polytheists are Abraham's mortal enemies. Abraham separated from his father that he loved because of polytheism. Magog, the British, during their occupation of Arabia, set up the Hindus, polytheists, giving them control over Arabia, posing as Muslims, when they are in reality Hindus posing as Arabs. The dragon is determined to prevent Abraham's seed from ever returning to Arabia, from ever possessing, quote, the land of promise, end quote. The house of Saud is the dragon. The demons, black-faced Caucasians, the byproduct of 400 years of rape, unrelenting, unrestrained rape. They are the hidden enemy who look like, talk like, and can act like the original people but are not us. Imposters. They are devils by nature, original by appearance. The demons love their devil fathers and want nothing less than full acceptance, full integration. The demons hate the original nation as much or more than their devil fathers. The demons prey on the original people. They don't want their cash cow to leave. Their devil fathers won't let them hunt and dine with them, but they have their devil fathers' unlimited permission to hunt and dine on the original people. The chief demon, son of perdition, is Farrakhan. The chief demon, the mouth, is a student of falsehood. Falsehood is a powerful form of deception. Falsehood is truth sprinkled with lies. You get a full banquet of food with a little but lethal dose of cyanide. You don't see or detect the cyanide until you are laid out, cringing in fatal agony. The chief demon provides a feast of Elijah. How to eat to live. Message to the black man. Fall of America. Our Savior has arrived. The lessons from Farad. But embedded in the facade is the hook, just like the bait that hides the lethal hook from the unwary fish. Quote, we ain't going nowhere, end quote, in open defiance of Allah's promise, the reward for services already rendered. 400 years of insufferable suffering. The demons don't want to lose their meal ticket. We see how Farrakhan has gotten rich and fat off the original people, while not having produced a damn thing. Nothing. 42 years and absolutely nothing to show for it. The NOI is not even a fraction of what Elijah left. If he died today, what would be left of the NOI? Nothing. Absolutely nothing. Well, confusion, there will be that. But the deceiver has mesmerized those around him. They cannot see a thing, but they will. They will. They will. Soon.
6:73 And he it is who created the heavens and the earth with truth/mathematics. And when he says, be, it is.
Elijah/Moses meets God/Farad. Elijah presides for 40 years. Elijah is succeeded by the quote, mouth, unquote, and impressive speaker, Aaron/Farrakhan. The quote, mouth, unquote, presides for 42 years. He betrays Elijah, misleads/deceives the flock. Aaron/Farrakhan is then exposed, dethroned, and his followers executed. Authority is transferred to Joshua/Jesus, aka Ancient of Days, who breaks the seals of the angels/gospels, identifies and casts out the demons, separate chaff from the wheat, and together with Farad/Michael, delivers the flock back to the quote, land of promise, end quote, in fulfillment of the Abrahamic promise that Farrakhan rejected.